Hello, everybody. This is Wayne from the band The Flaming Lips, and I just got done doing an extensive, wonderful, crazy talk with Zach Sang on his great show with his great big desk energy, and we talked about our album Yoshimi, Battles of Pink Robots, its 20-year anniversary, and all kinds of great stuff. So, yeah, I hope you get to listen to it and check it out.
Hello, beautiful human. Thank you so much for clicking on our conversation with The Flaming Lips. This is absolutely wild. Wayne is going to be here in the flesh. There's a lot to talk about. A very special album celebrating 20 years of existence. We'll get into it, plus literally everything else. It's really cool, and yeah, just this is wild. Another legend in the studio on the couch, hanging out with you and me, and this conversation being delivered to you by GoPuff. Everybody needs to get something delivered, so why not GoPuff it? Thousands of items available in the palm of your hand. Booze, snacks, electronics, home goods, all at the right price, and they'll get to you pretty much instantly. So try them out the next time you're looking to get something delivered. You will not regret it. Plus, I'll save you some money. Use Zach10 if you want to save $10 off your first 2 orders. Zach10, spelled with an H. Use it when you're checking out, and you'll save money. Okay, here's The Flaming Lips. Hello, beautiful human. I am Zach, that is Dan, and we welcome to the studio, The Flaming Lips.
Yeah, The Flaming Lips. Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm Wayne. Yeah.
You just brought up something.
Are we going already?
Yeah.
I love this. Yeah.
You brought up something really on the money, which is you coming in here, you see somebody doing construction work, and that...
Hard work. Real hard work.
That physical manual labor could have been your reality.
I mean, I've definitely done that. Yeah. I mean, I definitely know the feeling of like you got to get up early and you got to do hard manual labor. I mean, mine wasn't. I didn't have to work doing construction. I saw a guy in the street just as we pulled in here. They're digging a big. Something's gone wrong underneath the street. How bad is that? It's like we've made the street. You can't dig under the street. But yeah, they've a big hole, and he's doing something under there, and I'm like. I'm sitting in an Uber with my green tea latte, and I'm just going to come and talk to you. And I'm glad I have this job, but it's not a hard job compared to that type of job. You know, this is fun and easy and conversations with cool people, and yeah.
But this is a job, genuinely, that started for you such a long time ago.
Yeah.
That has been a consistent ride and journey for, I mean... You have gone through so many iterations. Well, just band members, but also.
We've been. I mean, you say that. I mean, we've been around for 40 years this year. I mean, next year will be 40 years. So that's it's a long time. And I don't know if you would have said you're still going to be doing this. I was 22 when we started. You're still going to be doing this when you're 62. I would have just been like, no, like it's just it'd be too important. It'd be too much like I wouldn't have any idea what to do, So I think most of us when we started, you're just trying to get through the summer, do something ridiculous, do something fun. We were inspired by, punk rock in general, but especially the American punk rock, seeing Black Flag and Husker Du, even, in Oklahoma City where I live, still live there now, lots of bands would come through, and saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers play their first show in Oklahoma City was at 1984, maybe 1985, played to 12 people in this giant place, but they were exactly... them and other groups, Black Flag and stuff, they were exactly what we aspired to, like just do your music and do your thing and see if you can travel around America and meet some weirdos. And I think if you had asked the Red Hot Chili Peppers, even back then, like, you're still going to be doing this 50 years later, they probably would have been like, fuck that. Yeah, we're just having a good time,
But was it a good time or was it a means out? Because you grew up in Oklahoma City, but it was also a rough area. Like
no, I mean, I think
you had
that's
a great family and a great structure.
Yeah. It was never for me. I mean, I could see that for a lot of people who go into music, but it was never like that for me. I mean, I love my brothers, my family. I even love Oklahoma City. I always say, like, if you have my life living there. it's the greatest life ever. I just get to do my stuff, and everybody around me has always helped me and encouraged me. And my older brothers knew all the drug dealers and bikers and weirdo musicians in the city. And so, no, I mean, I just love, I mean, I guess I'm just a creative person, and so I don't really need any reason to do stuff. I just want to do stuff. So doing music, I mean, there's so many things you get to do when you're in a band. It's like, I mean, it's not just me, but you write songs and you get to rehearse the whole thing. You get to create it. You get to produce it. You get to make album covers. You get to make videos. You get to make a stage show. It's just an endless, thing that you're always creating. And so for me, it was just always like, and especially, I mean, I call it rock and roll. I'm not sure what people would call it nowadays, but, it just gives you a whole life, and especially being able to travel and do stuff. I mean, I love painting and I love doing art, but, it's like you're always just sitting in a chair doing stuff. Your mind is doing stuff. And, when you're in a band, you're really doing stuff. You're going everywhere. You're meeting people. You're living this crazy life. And so I think the way I grew up, I mean, I have older brothers. They had 1,000 friends. We had dogs and music 24 hours a day in my house. Being in a group like the Flaming Lips is like the way I grew up. It's just chaos, and we're doing fun stuff, and it's just, just a chaotic, crazy, fun, adventure.
You saw, when you were younger, you equated your family to religion, which I thought was really interesting, and then you recruited your brother to be in the band with you.
Yeah.
Why was that important at the beginning?
Well, we had just always done everything together. And I think that's, most bands, when they, especially bands, I mean, like, I think nowadays it's more, it's like an artist, it's a singer or something like that, But when we were growing up, the music that we listened to most of the time would have been like groups, like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, or, whoever, the Clash or whoever. And most of those groups, they start off as kind of like a gang. You got your gang, you got your guys, and with the encouragement of each other and the energy of each other, and like just that young, we'll change the world, we can't be defeated. Doesn't really matter what you're trying to do. With that sort of mentality, you can almost do anything. True. Doesn't mean you're going to make any money or people are going to like it, but just this way of this, through your self-confidence and through your just knowing you can do it with your friends, you're just not so embarrassed or scared, or, and failure doesn't seem like a failure because you're doing it with your friends and your brothers and stuff, So I think that really helped me, especially in the beginning, because you're just having these crazy adventures. I mean, the first time we played in Los Angeles, we had driven out here with my older brothers and some of their friends on motorcycles in 1977. I was just 16. And of course, some of them were, a little bit older or whatever. And that was the only other time I'd been here until we came out here and played as the Flaming Lips, And people always ask me, when we went to L.A. in 1977, did we come out there to see like the punk rock scene or whatever, which it's an obvious question. I'm like, no. I mean, all music to us was great, I think Hotel California was the song that was the biggest song of that summer, by Eagles, and I mean, I love punk rock, I love, classic rock, I love jazz. I mean, I just love music. So to me, it's like any excuse to go someplace where people are doing, cool shit. It's like, well, let's go, So yeah, even being able to come to Los Angeles to play even once, back in the day was like, yeah. We crashed my dad's car. We had a trailer on the back, and we crashed the car. It was like a strange little curve, and the highway was kind of broken, and we went off the side, and the trailer turned over, and we all got out in the mud, and we fixed it, and nothing broke in the trailer. We had packed it so well. But that was already like, that's enough of an adventure. This is worth it, and did people like us? I don't remember. I don't think people hated us, but when you're young, everything is for you, everything is for your own, like, you want to have experience and you want to know what it means to be out there in the world. And yeah, and so being in a group, that kind of, it kind of lets you do all the stuff. Yeah.
Was there a moment where that kind of changes, where it's not for you, but it ends up being for other people?
Well, I think, like we said earlier, I've been, doing this now for 40 years. So I think at some point, if you don't like that part of it, you're not going to want to be, you don't want to make music. I absolutely love music. I love making it and I love doing all this stuff. Being even a little bit successful is, I don't know if I can say this on your show, but it's a motherfucker, because then you really are, it's like the way you guys work. It's like if nobody cared about what you were doing, you wouldn't have to get up and do it every day and be on time and get all this shit together, But the minute it starts to work, you're like, oh, wow, this is not work like the guy in the street, but work like we've got to be on time and we got to think ahead and we got to start to figure all this stuff out.
You're becoming a real operation. People are interested in what you have to say. Yeah. You have to get it out there. There's pressure to make more music.
Yeah, pressure in a good way. Yeah.
Does that take effect when you sign to Warner? Or is don't use jelly the moment that everything changes?
Well, there's always been, there's a few of those as you go, getting signed to Warner Brothers, I still say it to people all the time. It's hard to know the impact of that these days because people can make their own records and do all that. And there's a lot of stuff you can do on your own. But back then, to have a major label like Warner Brothers embrace you, and they don't put all their company behind you, but they put a good, good segment of it behind you to see if you can, if you can be, success is it's a weird word, but successful in the music, industry sense, So yeah, there was an intern for a radio station in San Francisco who became an intern for one of the big A&R women at the time at Warner Brothers. And he was like, you got to sign the Flaming Lips. You got to sign the Flaming Lips. And she's like, I don't know who are these guys, But she had worked, I think she'd signed Jane's Addiction. She had signed Devo. She signed quite a few. She signed a lot of people, but signed quite a few people that end up being weirdos, but successful weirdos, So it seemed like something that was, of her character to have the Flaming Lips come to Warner Brothers. And she came out to see us play in Oklahoma City. She flew out there and, I think at the time we were probably so nervous and didn't know what she would like. We played 3 or 4 songs, but we would do this thing back then where our friends, the Butthole Surfers, I'm not sure if you know that group, but they were insane guys to be around, in the mid 80s, and they would do this thing. Gibby Haynes, the singer, would have a cymbal on a stand, a cymbal that you hit as he would turn it upside down. He'd put lighter fluid in it, light it on fire, and he'd hit it, and it would send flames, like shooting. And you should never do this. You should never do this at home, or you should never do it.
Homemade pyro, the cheapest kind.
Yeah, but we would do it often enough just to cause a big spectacle, a big this is intense. And I would say, when you're up there playing and doing stuff, you do kind of have, you become a little bit of a stupid superhero.
Invincible.
Because, you're like, we can do it. You can do it. Of course, you tried to do it at your house, the next day, you'd be like, no way, this is going to kill us. But when you're on stage, I don't know, you just feel like you can do it. But anyway, we had done this thing a few times. We're called the Flaming Lips. We thought this would be cool. There's flames everywhere or whatever. And a friend of ours is hitting the cymbal. Back then, I'd play guitar and sing, so I couldn't do it myself. But a friend of ours, he's just fucking going crazy, And I can tell the fire's getting big. And he's got a lot of lighter fluid there. And it's getting bigger, and it's going on the floor. And, the lighter fluid goes on the floor. It stays on fire. It's... But the audience... like all audiences, they're just thinking, well, this is great. You guys know what you're doing.
Part of the show.
Here we go. But I can tell this kind of getting out of hand, But luckily, one of my older brothers is there, and he'd seen us do this before, and he went and found a fire extinguisher. And just as I started to think, now look, if we keep going, we're going to die, or going to be burned up so bad that we're going to wish we were dead. But he goes and finds a fire extinguisher, sprays the whole place down, and still the audience believe this is part of the show too. We don't care. We were, the fire was great. Now this, I don't know if you've ever had sit in a small room after it's been
smells.
Yeah. Well, it's full of all this stuff that you can hardly breathe, and it's in your eyes. It's not tear gas, but it's close to that. And we just powered through the whole thing like we do this every night. Here we go. And we went out to eat at Denny's restaurant. This is our big celebration of the big show with a big A&R person from Warner Bros. We ate at Denny's at about 1:30 in the morning, and she already knew she was going to sign us. Just like, oh, I don't care. This is amazing. This is going to be a fun ride, And for years, we thought, we really impressed her. We really we knew what we were doing. And after a while, we knew her for a while, and even after she left Warner Brothers, which that's another part of it too. It's like for the Flaming Lips to be at Warner Brothers, since 1990. I mean, it's just insane. We've seen
so many people
20 presidents since then.
But people continue to champion you, which is
I mean, it's unbelievable. So years later, we asked her like, what was it that we did that made you sign us? And she probably didn't remember anyway, but she said, Wayne, once I met you, I really liked your smile and I liked your teeth. And, you're kind of just left with like,
sure.
You can't get a better answer than that. You know what I mean? You can't, so, it's all these things you're trying to think of like, how do we look in our videos and how are we going to sound? How are we going to sell records and market ourselves and all that? It's like, don't worry about that. She knew just by that,
When do you think the band became a good band? Because in the Fearless Freaks documentary, there's a lot of talk about how the music wasn't great. It was the show that made it great.
Well, it depends on what it is that you're trying to see in music. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not, and I say this and only because I work with such great musicians. I'm not really a musician. I'm a creative weirdo, and obsessed probably isn't the right word, but I like doing stuff, and I'm if I sort of set out to say we're going to make a song, well, we'll make one. It doesn't mean it's going to be the greatest song ever or whatever, but we're gonna start to do stuff, and I think that would attract musicians after a while that had probably been in groups with other musicians that weren't very motivated and didn't want to do anything. I mean, it's a strange mixture of what you have to do. If you're not motivated, nothing's going to happen. You can talent is great, but if you don't want to get out of bed and do stuff, nothing's going to happen. The best thing that can happen is you get with people that are motivated, get with people that are talented, get with people that are willing to work hard, get with people that are open-minded, people that are creative, and if you get to work and work and work and work, you'll stumble upon something if you're really going for it. So I think with us, that would be the thing that happened. We could say, well, we're not very good, but hey, we're working on it, we're trying, But through all that trying, something would happen. You'd be like, oh, wait a minute, what was that? And you keep working and you get more of these moments that you feel like, now that's a sound. That's a sound that feels like us, that feels like it's, people can understand it, and maybe it's slightly original and maybe it's slightly weird, but it's slightly, it's all these things that help you find your way. But you'd never find your way if you're not going to try a million times, So, we always loved the music that we did. I think that's the key to any of it. It's if you love it, people can't, no one can defeat you. No one can come up and say, your music sucks and that should make you stop. I'd say, well, our music may suck to you, but we love it, and who cares? We're not really making it for you, and if we make it for people, and if those people like it, well, good for them and good for us.
Do the people you have around you bring out greatness in you?
Well, I mean, I think we all help each other.
Yeah.
By saying yes, like, hey, you think we can do this? Yeah. I don't know how, but yeah, let's try it, But, people having energy, people having ideas, people being, willing to do crazy shit. Yeah, but that's difficult too. I mean, you're influenced by everybody that is with you, unless you're just a narcissistic asshole. You really want people's input, so when they say, man, that's really going good, you can trust it. Hey, I think this is going good. And if they say, I don't know if this is going good, we have to work on something. You don't want just a bunch of people saying you're great no matter what. And that's just no fun to be around anyway. It's just, what kind of life is that? So I think little by little to attract these people that want to be in this environment that's creative. It's hard work, but it's not hard work like the guy.
Yeah, like
the guy in the hole. He's still out there working. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think in time, we all recognize each other in the world and say, oh yeah, this is something I would like to do. And it takes your whole life to do it. I mean, that's the other side of it. This isn't a part-time, do it once in a while kind of life. If you're not in it 1,000%, it's not going to work.
Are you grateful that at least in the earlier years, there was a little bit of a rotating group around you?
Well, not really rotating. I mean,
not rotating, but somebody would leave for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then somebody else would come in. Marriage was one reason. Like a bunch of different life stuff.
Yeah. And, to be doing it as long as we have, I think if we, and I say this just as a caution to most, young guys out there, it's like if we would have been successful in the first couple of years of doing stuff, I would have been working with my younger brother, who is crazy, and a couple of other guys that were around at the time. If we would have succeeded enough, they'd still be here today, and I would want to kill them. It wouldn't have worked. I wouldn't have wanted to do it. I wouldn't have wanted to live my life this way. So it successful enough that we feel like, oh, we want to keep doing this, but not successful enough if you're in it for any other reason other than music. If you're in it for music, Flaming Lips is the greatest world to be in. But if you're in it for fame and money and attention and all this other stuff, it's like, well, that's not, you wouldn't want to stay in it, So I think that shows us a lot, just by going out into the world and seeing what it's like, if people will, do people like what you're doing, and seeing other groups and seeing the way other people do stuff. It's all going into your curiosity of, how to become yourself, which is what you're really trying to do,
And that's what making music is for you, right? Finding yourself, becoming yourself?
Well, I don't think you ever really do. I mean, I think the person, like what we're doing right now, it's really bizarre because I have no idea what I'm about to say. This articulating mechanism that our brains do so well. It's not like you and I came in here and said, we're going to talk about this, and we try to... It's like it's ahead of even our thinking mind. We're just talking out here, which is impossible. I didn't even know how we can do it, but we do it because we're all helping each other, being like, I'm listening, you're talking, I'm understanding, I'm listening. You know what I mean? So thinking and talking is different than writing music and singing, and that's different than just writing it down. I mean, all these mechanisms that you're using to express yourself, they're all kind of different. But you can't figure that out when you're real young because you got to use all of them at the same time, But for me, I just discovered little by little that the way I am in our music that I think is the best of our music, the most expressive, that's the kind of person I'd like to be, even if I'm really not that person. You channel into something that's so pure and so... you can't really have access to it in your actual life. It's just such a pure thing. You hear these sounds and this music, and I mean, I owe it to what I say is the gods of music and the gods of songwriting. Is that the promise I made is I will follow my heart. I'll follow wherever it goes, and if I'm trying to write a song I'll sing whatever the gods of music will put into me. If it's embarrassing, stupid, nonsensical, whatever it is, that's my promise, is like, I'll sing that. And, you know, as difficult as it is, that's where the great songs come from, because you got to say shit that you wouldn't say in this format, or even a format we're talking to people at a restaurant, or even writing things down. It's got to be, you know, it's emotions and it's experience and it's life and it's wishes and it's you in the future. It's all these things combined to say. And if I try to be cool, I try to shape myself like I'm going to be this guy. The gods of music, you know, they'll know. It's like, look at him. Why, Wayne? You said, and they know. So I just, when it comes to singing and doing stuff, I just try to be as pure me as I can, and hope that becomes, you know, songs that people can listen to.
I got to say, that's like one thing. We've now, at this point, like we're lucky. We talked to a lot of amazing musicians, and they span generations. And that is one thing that has followed artists in every generation, from you to Neil Young to Chris Martin. I was just talking to. There is a thought that songs, like really songs of substance, come from something larger than them, yet it is so reflective of who they are.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you can still reject it, or you can choose, you know, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. But I think when it's really working, you know, you are kind of.
It's bigger than you, though.
Yeah, you're this vessel, and yeah, they've got the like I said, the gods of music, and I know Chris Martin and stuff, and we talk about that before. It's like, yeah, it's. You know, it is magic in a sense, but it's just that, oh my gosh, I get to sing this song, which really I'm not really responsible for it. I mean, you know, I say the bad songs, I stand there and say, yeah, I'm responsible for those. Sure, I did those, the ones that don't really work and don't really express much, you know. But the really great ones that, you know, it's personal, it's absolutely personal to you in the smallest little detail, but it's universal at the same time. I mean, I don't think you couldn't have a recipe and say, do this, that's going to work. You just have to be open and say, well, I know I like this, and I know I would say that. Well, so here I go, you know.
She Don't Use Jelly. Did you think that was a great song when you were writing it?
Well, I mean, luckily, you know, the guys that I'm with, I mean, especially Steven, you know, he's the other songwriter in the group. You know, he's very touched by lyrics and by music and by stuff, you know. It's not a casual thing to him. So I was liking that, but you know, when I'm writing that type of song, it's really primitive. It's just chords, and I don't always even know what key I'm in. I'm not a musician like that, but I'm gonna sing what I think is gonna work. And I would sing that for him, and even before I'd get through with the first verse, I think I just had the first verse, and I felt like, well, if that works, I could probably make up some other ones that do the same sort of thing. Before I could even get the first one done, he's like, yep, that's going to work. Because he's just listening and knowing that's Wayne, that's the Flaming Lips. No one else would write a song like that. If we keep that part of it, we'll be able to make that into a song. People can understand it, even though they don't know what the fuck it is that I'm saying, you know? And having someone that you can trust, having someone that is a cool, you know, creative musician themselves, help you and encourage you and believe in you and say, man, that's going to work. I mean, that saves everything.
Well, because it easily could have gone the opposite. Somebody could have heard that and been like, this is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when the A&R person that liked my teeth heard it, same way. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And you know, even before it was a hit in the world, not a big hit, but enough of a hit, you know, we were playing shows with a group called Candlebox. I don't even know if anybody remembers who they were, but at the time we were playing like 90 shows with them. And they were getting bigger and bigger as the tour went. So, you know, we started off playing, you know, big theaters. By the end of it, we're playing, you know, hockey arenas every night. And we're opening up for them. And they're becoming a big kind of, and, you know, it's the end of grunge. Grunge is in its last days, but they're still rolling on, you know, selling a couple million records a week. You know, it's getting bigger and bigger. So we're playing to a big audience. So even for the opening band then, if they're playing to 10,000 people that night, there'd be 7,000 people watching us play, hating every minute of it.
Really?
Until we played You Don't Use Jelly. I mean, it really would, we would always be a little bit like, oh, it's weird how they don't really want to listen to us. But then this one little quirky song, they'd be like, oh, okay, well... Okay, and then we'd play the next song. They'd go back to get this shit out of here, But in a way, I mean, we knew that we weren't like Candlebox, the band that we were opening for, and we didn't really care if their audience liked us or not. I mean, again, we were kind of doing it for ourselves. But I have to say, I still run into people at our shows all the time that say, I went to see Candlebox, didn't know who you were, and now you guys are my favorite band.
Damn.
Yeah, and so. Yeah, and I mean that is the thing. It's like not all audiences members are musicians themselves or even creative people. They like music or whatever. But within that audience, there's all kinds of creative musicians. There's all kinds of different versions of people that love music and are kind of music minded or whatever. If you're music minded at all, and you listen to a few Flaming Lips things, you'd be like, what? Hey. What are they doing there? Yeah.
There really is something to She Don't Use Jelly, as it really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but helped chart an alternative pop crossover that we hadn't really seen.
Right, yeah.
You're mentioned in 90210.
Yeah.
They're singing you in karaoke, and some guys, or they hear you, and he's like, oh, I usually hate alternative rock. But I love these guys.
Well, exactly, yeah. It's as cornball as it can be, yeah.
But
yeah.
those
amazingly so, yeah.
Like in those moments in culture, one live forever, but like that cultural impact at that moment in time.
Yeah.
Dope, drilled in.
Well, when we were doing it, all those things are just so embarrassing, I mean, we're used to being rejected. We're used to being the outsiders. We're used to being like, well, of course you don't like us. Of course you don't understand us, And then when they invite you to come on the show, and I only know because I've seen it 1,000 times now. We played in the Peach Pit, That's the venue they would all go to and get drunk and, spread gossip or whatever, And I mean, I know more about how television shows work now because we've done a few more of them, whatever. But at the time, they had done other music guests and stuff too. And so you'd come in on the Friday, and you're the last thing that they're going to shoot of the whole week of work, And we get there, and everybody's pretty burned out, and they're pretty much like, "Let's get this shit going," And we're like, "Man, we're going to be on TV and." Beverly Hills 90210, which I never really watched it, but of course it was you would know enough about it even if you never watched it, And so, the whole thing is just kind of like hodgepodge together. You go up there and sing or whatever, and it looks like it's a disaster. Even that line where I forget the
Ian Ziering.
Yeah. He's like, I don't usually like alternative music, but these guys, I think he says, these guys rock the house. It would be like. What's the line? It's to say they rock the house. I don't give a fuck, Which was our impression of the day. Like, this just seems like nobody cares, and it's going to be. I mean, at the time we even said this is so bad they won't even air it. They'll just say, "Sorry, we're going to redo it." But it's not true. I mean, that's how it is all the time, And it played, and we were all amazed. Like, it seems to really work. I mean, it works in that cornball kind of way, And now it's so. Classic that it's so dumb, it's genius. I mean, it starts turning around on itself. And yeah, for us to be part of that at the time, it's just so nerve-wracking because you're just in a world that you have no idea what it is, and are you going to be there for a moment and everybody's going to hate you after that, or are you selling out? All these things come into your mind. But we were lucky. We'd been doing stuff for long enough. And the alternative world, whatever people thought of it wasn't where we didn't care about any of that anyway. We're just making our music and doing what we like to do. We felt like we were very lucky to be on Warner Brothers, all this stuff, people helping us make records. We kind of embraced the idea like, this is absurd. This isn't great. This isn't bad. This is absurd. So a lot of the things we started to do after the success of She Don't Use Jelly was just like, You don't get to do this every day. Here we go. Is it great? I don't give a fuck.
But it does signify like a mainstream success.
Well, yeah.
That is.
I mean, we go to the Grammys. All these
piercing
things.
Culture in a different way.
I mean, most musicians are going to the Grammys to be like, finally, the world is going to acknowledge my greatness, and this is going to be amazing. I mean, we were just going to be like, this is fucking ridiculous. We saw Tony Bennett, we saw Slash, We're just sitting in the back enjoying the ride because this isn't something that we're ever going to do again, Well,
so you think.
But we end up doing it a couple times.
So you think.
But we wouldn't have wanted to do it if we thought, oh, the world's going to finally acknowledge how great we are. We're just there because it's ridiculous, So
is there any pressure to follow it properly?
Well, at the time,
it?
I think we'd already, gotten through that to be like, we had done enough things to feel like, if you do this, it's going to make you more successful. Well, we would do it, and it wouldn't make us more successful. And those are the things you regret the most, because it's like doing something that you love, it not being successful. Oh, well.
Whatever.
You could do that 20 million times. Who cares, But to do something that you kind of hate, that you kind of don't want to do, and you're only doing it for the other side of it, you're only doing it for this payoff. When the payoff isn't there, you don't blame the world, you don't blame the situation, you blame yourself. You say, But, I mean, I think everybody has this back and forth, I mean, we say it all the time. It's like, I would never do that. But if you gave me $20 million, I would do it every day. It's like, you've got your situation or whatever. So I think by then we'd done enough things that would have gone against, my promise to the gods of music, that unless it's something that we really love, it's like we're just not going to spend the time and energy doing it. Because those things that you don't really love, you don't fill them up with your character. You don't fill them up with your love.
You just get them done to get them done.
Yeah.
What were those things for you guys?
It would be doing like tours and be doing, shows and even working on songs, movie soundtracks and things. And I mean, and all that stuff is hard work. Not hard work like the guy in the street, but it's hard work because, people are making movies and it's like 90210. We got bigger problems than you coming in here doing a song. When they want you to do a song, they call you up on, Friday at 2:00. It's like, hey, you guys got any music? We're making this movie. And I'm like, yeah, sure. When do you need it? Now? You mean like now? Like, yeah, like could you send us something in like 20 minutes? And I'm like, oh, that's not what we thought we were doing. We thought we'd sit around and we'd talk about ideas and we'd work on something for 3 years and then get to,
collaborate accordingly.
But in time, we would make a lot of music. I mean, we're always making music, always, always, always. And in time, someone would call us up and say, hey, do you have any music? And knowing that if they're not going to call you and give you 3 years to make a song, they're going to call you. Yeah. And in time, we would have plenty of music. And we'd say, well, we have this, we have this, we have this. You'd send them 10 things. And because you've kept working and you're not waiting for someone to call you to make music, you're just making it. And that's the way you do it. You don't do it when they call you. You've already done it 3 years ago. And when they call, you're ready. And if you want to do it, because again, it's all of that's uncertain. You can't do it because you think, oh, it'll be the best movie ever, or the greatest movie ever, or the most money ever. You got to do it because I like the people, I like what they're doing, and we're all trying this together. So in time, it takes experience though. Unless it happens to you, it can happen to the guys around you, it can happen to everybody, but if it doesn't happen to you, it's not the same thing. And so, yeah, and that's just our own way of doing it,
But you do it you make art on your time, not when somebody calls. Like you're not, you don't do it when they ask.
It would depend on who called. If Nick Cave called this afternoon and said, hey, Wayne, you're in LA, let's make a song. I'd be like, fuck, let's go do it, and we'd figure something out. But I mean, the way to get everybody to say, hey, let's do this thing. Let's all be excited about it. Even our producer, Dave Fridman and stuff, we want to know that we love it. We want to know that we worked hard on it. We tried to make it as good as we can, and it was inspiring. All these things that, you're doing when you're making music, So, yeah. So, doing a few of those things sort of let you know, like, oh, well, I that would be great if we had the time and we had the effort and all that, but we're doing this thing. And I don't know, it's kind of like even being here with you today. It's like, there's a million things you can do when you're in LA. There's a million promo things you can do. But each of them, it takes time, and each of them takes your attention and your energy and I just say, well, I'm going to do this one.
Thank you.
And we're going to make it great. And I'm going to be there with them. I'm not going to be like, well, hey man,
But your presence is what makes it great.
That's what makes it great for everybody, for everybody, even you guys, it's to be like, this is what we're doing. And then you're already succeeding. I'm with you guys. We're doing this thing. We're noticing how heavy the wood is. People that don't know what we're talking about. It's like, I love this. This furniture is amazing, and yeah, it's just old fashioned stuff. Yeah.
By the way, we are really here talking with Wayne because of the album that brought you to the Grammys again. Different trip to the Grammys. Your next time around, correct?
Yeah, you're winning.
Yeah.
Well, we won instrumental song of the year, even though most people know us by this song, "Do You Realize," which is it's kind of a Grammy sounding kind of song in a way.
and honestly, an eye-opening song that can change somebody's perspective. And it's really, really meaningful.
No, that's where I even that song, the way it is and all that, it's just it's kind of a strange song, but even that song, playing even the very first demo of it that I had, playing it for Steven, he had a reaction even before it would get finished. He'd hear it and go, oh, that's going to work. Now he can already hear the chords that I'm playing, different versions of it, ways that we can make it more expressive, make it more musical and all that. So yeah, it's another song that I would have just thought, I really like this, and I feel like I've done the gods of music. I've done, I've kept my promise that I'd sing these words, I'd sing these things, and I would believe them, and I would love it, and I would work hard for it, and that would be the way the song went. But in time, yeah, I think there is a big audience out there that song really resonates with. I talk with people, almost every day about, my mother died last week, and that was a song that we played at the funeral. My kids were born last week, and that was the song that we played, on the video that we made. Well, their little videos, and all kinds of, things that, music gets you through those things. I think that's why music was invented. I think that's why humans made music, because with this complicated world, it's easy to be around in, but that sort of emotional pain, there's just no way around it. You've built yourself up to be so aware and so sensitive and so smart and so knowing. When something horrible like a death of your father or death of a child or something like that, there's no mechanism in the world that can get you ready for that can even get you through that, and when you're sitting there by yourself with that kind of pain or whatever, music is, it's like your friend, it's like your family, it's like this other world that says, I know, this is, you're in a world now where all of us are going to be eventually or whatever, and it's just helping you, and I think that's, when I was really, really young, there was a third grade. There was a kid. He didn't have very many friends, but I sat next to him in the classroom. And by the end of the third grade, he had leukemia. I didn't really know what leukemia was in third grade, but I knew he was sick. And he would show me this thing on his leg, like I'm showing you now. It would be a spot in his leg where they kept taking samples of his skin and his blood, and he showed me these big holes. And we were like, wow, it's amazing. Still bloody and everything, him going to school. And we were kind of friends, but he didn't have very many friends. And, I liked him and all that. But back then there was no social media. There's no way you can even know people. You know them at school, and
that's it.
We were out for the summer. I thought a lot about him, and I thought about this disease, leukemia, because one of my brother's friends had it as well. And he ended up dying over the summer. But when I went back to the fourth grade, and back then you'd have a lot of the same people in your class, in the school that I went to. And we're sitting there. I wasn't thinking that much about it. They called his name, like, are you here? Like they would call roll call in the morning. They called his name. And it occurred to me, that because no one, no one knew that we were going to know each other or cared that I would know if he was alive or dead or whatever, But they called his name, and I knew that he was dead because he wasn't there. He should have been in the 4th grade with me, And I remember for the next couple of weeks, it's like everybody else in the classroom, they don't give a fuck. I mean, they're having fun. It's not painful for them. It's just the first day of school. Who cares, But I remember sitting there like thinking about him and his leg and his blood, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is, just being so young and, just thinking, man, this is so. I think those sort of experiences, music would help me.
But did that funnel its way into this record?
I think it funnels its way into all of our music, especially if we really are, we're really finding something emotional. The further we can go into something emotional, the further it goes into us. And then we feel braver and more empowered to be like, yes, I mean, a lot of our music is just dorky sometimes too. We don't have any rules, but when it's emotional, I mean, we go all the way. We don't have any, we don't hold back,
How did it begin? How do you realize? How did that song start?
Just dumb chords. We had done a couple of songs where I'd had this realize lyric in there. And a lot of groups do this, especially if you get to make a lot of records. You try different versions of this feeling, We'd had a couple of songs, and I remember Steve and I thinking, I was like, we got to really make a realize song, because we'd used this word in a couple of songs. And I was just sitting there, and I had a little bit of a, not written down, not anything. But at the time, the way I would do demos, it would just be on a 4-track little cassette recorder. And I would have a microphone and everything set up. I mean, I could walk in, and within 10 seconds, I'm doing music, And I kept trying, and I mean, there's a demo of me working on the song for the very first time, and you can hear it start. It's like, oh, I'm finding my way, and then I try it again, just this little phrase again. It gets a little bit better. I try it 3 times, and I feel like, oh, I'll play this for Steven, see if he likes it, and it's just these moments that because it's just such pure expression. And that's really all you need. I mean, all the other stuff, it's not easy, but I mean, you can get production, you can make drums sound good, you can get things in tune, all these
channeling your emotions into lyrics that is the most difficult.
It's difficult, but it's beautiful. I mean, if you're able to, do it, and not saying doing it because the whole world thinks it's great, doing it through yourself and just thinking, oh, that really said something I wanted it to say, but the other side of it is I'm going to play it for Steven. We're going to play it for our producer Dave Fridman and see if he has a reaction to it. And when they react, you're just like, thank you, thank you. I'll keep my promise here,
How do you know it was finished?
Well, I think that's a problem for us, because we love working on stuff, especially when it's confident and it's going good, Do you realize when we were doing a session, back then we'd work for like 2.5 weeks or something and then take a break. And at the very end of this session, we'd already done stuff that we were happy with, and we were getting great sounds and great uniqueness to what we were doing. Dave Fridman he's a master producer, and he's just in tune with you. Whatever you want to do, he's the man, And he loved the song. Do you realize? He knew it was, working on the whole thing about it. It was a great song. But there is production that you have to do, We were at the end of a session, and we didn't have very much time, but we knew we were going to do these, 9 or 10 things to start it going. Got a pretty good mix on it. We weren't completely satisfied, but it's pretty good. And at the end of these sessions, we would just let everybody hear it. We'd send it to the record company and our manager and everybody and just say, what do you think, And everybody responded to the song, Do You Realize, just immediately. And in our minds, we were like, I don't think that's finished. And we kept thinking about it, and the more it was out there, the more people would say, man, that song, Do You Realize, man, that's just stuck in my head all day. I just love that. That's just, So by the time we went back to think that we were going to finish it, we were like, maybe we're already done here, And if given our own devices, we probably would have fucked it up, Would have said, wait a minute, what are we doing here? So, you never know. I mean, and we're willing to work on it, forever, whatever it takes to make it work. But I don't think we're always the best judge. So having people listening and
That you trust.
Yeah, helping you out and and making it work. I mean, it's not that often that I have to be the only believer in the room. I mean, I've done that sometimes, but usually it's like if it's going good, the whole universe is there with you. People walk into the room, everything is like, it's not you don't have to beat people over the head. It's like, man, this is amazing. You feel it. Everybody wants it. Everybody's working. Everybody's flowing together. But once of 1,000 times, it would just be me saying, we've got to do this. I think it's going to work, and luckily it does. But that doesn't mean I'm right. It's just those are the circumstances.
Was Do You Realize important to shaping the rest of Yoshimi, or did that come later in putting the album together?
Well, I think in that way, the Yoshimi album was pretty well sounding the way it was going to sound, and it was moving along, and 3 or 4 songs that people were liking. We were on a good roll there, and Dave Fridman was at the peak of his production. I mean, the way that we were doing things back then were new to us. I mean, we were listening to Missy Elliott, we were listening to all this crazy stuff that we had no idea. How are they making these fucking records? They were fucking crazy. I mean, we'd made a lot of rock type records, and we'd made a lot of like weirdo alternative experimental records, but we never had made like hip-hoppy pop type records. And we didn't have a pop producer. We just thought, well, let's just fuck around and see if we can do it, not do it to be pop, but do it because we were really loving those sounds. And Dave Fridman, he's a great producer like that. He loves all music, So we just started to make our own version of what we thought were like Timberland sounding stuff. Timberland probably didn't think so, but we thought so, and it was, we were liking it enough. And when people would hear it, it wouldn't seem like, the weirdos think they're making pop music. I mean, people thought, well, this is pop. And we're like, well, I don't know if it's pop, but it really does sound amazing. I mean, it still sounds, oh yeah. We made it in 2001. It still sounds amazing today, and just really, trying, working on these things. So by the time we did Do You Realize, I mean, the recording of it and the producing of it there, we knew it was going to sound great. Still a lot of things you can mess up, that get it off track or whatever. But by then, I think that's part of it too. We kind of knew what it was going to sound like, and that helped us a lot, just kind of make it quickly. And making things quickly isn't a number one solution, but it's a great solution if you can get a lot going and it's all happening and there's a lot of enthusiasm and energy and it's happening.
You don't stop it.
You're down the road before you get too many things that are you're stumbling on. But yeah, that would so. And Do You Realize only has one verse, and luckily we had done some songs that were just too fucking long. We've done plenty of songs that needed to be a minute or two shorter. So by the time we're doing these songs on the Yoshimi Battles Pink Robots record, we're very aware of like, is this too short? Because, that's bad too. But it's like, being too long is, no one wants that. There's got an energy and a flow and just a thing about it. And you got to know when to get out of there. So with Do You Realize, I think we're at the peak of some of that too. It's just one verse. It does a strange modulation, then goes, and ends. And in our earlier days, we probably would have just said, "Oh, it's not enough. You got to go back and do more." But it's not. It's the perfect length,
In the Morning of the Musicians is over 6 minutes. Like, that's a pretty long one.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, but it's not singing. A lot of that song are these instrumental, flowing, kind of expressionist bits, which we love that too. I mean, we always have instrumentals and stuff, and working with singers. I mean, we've done stuff like with Miley Cyrus and stuff. When
Dead Petz.
When there's a singer, I don't know. I don't really consider myself a singer. I'm just a guy in a group. So when there's a singer, I think you always feel a little bit more pressure to be like, the audience wants to hear this singer. They don't want to hear you dicking around with your synthesizer here. They want to hear them. To whereas we never really feel like that. Our whatever the music, whenever the vibe is, that's what we're making. It's not just about singing all the time. So that song, it is 6 minutes long, but it's got 3 or 4 different passages that help you get these different moods. And so and we have songs all the time that'll be 10 minutes, 20 minutes. We have a song that's 6 hours long. Yeah, it's called the 6 Hour Song. And that inspired us to do a song that was 24 hours long. Yeah. And
you also had like you also.
I mean, we have no limits.
Dude, you had a 4.
Yeah.
Your 4 disc.
Yeah.
your 4
So you
vinyl
have to
that
remember.
played.
Yeah, this was back in the mid '90s when CDs were the thing. I mean, people weren't into. I mean, vinyl was still around, but people weren't into vinyl, and there was no digital, formats like there are now. We made a record that was split up over 4 CDs. So it comes in a package with 4 CDs. You think this is 4 CDs? It's like, no, this is you're going to play a CD in your player, and then you're going to have another player. These are 4 CDs that are meant to play all at the same time. And it's insane. It's insane.
Did you think it was a good idea at the time?
At the time, I wanted it to be 100 CDs. See? So my compromise was at first like, well, we'll do 20. And then in time, like, we'll do 10. And then by the time we got to making it, it's like, I think we could do 4, 4 seemed very doable and very easy compared to 100 or whatever,
If you don't have 4 different CD players at your house, you're a loser.
Well, exactly. I mean, the way that Stephen and I discovered this, we would have, there'd be portable CD players. You'd have CDs, players in your car and all this. And we had, CD players laying around. I mean, you carried Walkmans around and stuff back then, CD players, And this was at probably the height of like remix era, where if there was a fairly popular song, you could get 20 remix guys to do a remix for you. But what people don't realize is like, it's not that people are lazy, it's just the way that people work. All these songs, all these remixes, they virtually are the same exact length. The same thing is happening. They're just doing stuff on top of the mix. I think at the time we were using a song by the Bjork and a song by the Beastie Boys. And we'd put in 3 versions of a remix in 3 different CD players. This is just us being crazy. So we could hear all 3 remixes at the same time. And you'd be amazed that they would all start at the same time. But CD players, even though they're digital, it's still a mechanism in there that's going. They would get off. They'd start together and then they would drift. But for us, this drift would be
magic.
Yeah, it would be shocking. Like, no way. There's no, like you would suddenly hear music that wasn't perfectly together.
But you couldn't control it. It wouldn't be the same listen every time, no?
It's not. Sometimes it's horrible, it's unlistenable, and other times it's magic and it's funny and it's ridiculous,
That's the journey.
Yeah, and it's like, every record you're going to hear, well, mostly every record, is going to be in time, and it's going to stay that way, and it's going to be in tune, it's going to stay that way. You don't have to worry about it. This record is not like that. It's not like any other record.
That's Zarica, right?
Zarica, yeah.
You mentioned the year 2025 on that, don't you?
I do,
We're
yeah.
pretty close.
Yeah, I know. At the time, that seemed like so far ahead. This was in 1996 we made that. Yeah, it came out in 1997. So in 1996, that was a long ways into the future, and I would be a different person. The world would be different, and I'm singing about some unknown world, but that's just in a couple of years now, yeah.
Scary. Go listen back to it. You need 4 CD-ROM players. By the way,
I think that's probably just one of those beautiful things about imagination. When you think about the future, you wouldn't think about it if it was really just going to be you, but you're older and tired. You want it to be a magical, post-apocalyptic, bizarre thing. It's not just you getting older, So I think all creative people like the idea of the future because it's like, who knows? But yeah, it comes quicker than you think, yeah.
By the way, we are celebrating 20 years of Yoshimi battles the pink robots.
Yep.
We have a special limited edition anniversary version.
Yeah.
It's a box set, it's the whole thing, right?
It's insane box set. I mean, the vinyl version of it, which was delayed a couple of years, like everything because of COVID, comes out the record store day in next year in April. But the CD box set, which is 6 CDs, big booklet, big poster, all these things that you can get now, comes out on the day after Thanksgiving, so next week. Yeah.
You play them all at the same time? All set?
Now I don't know anybody that has even one CD player, But I have to say, I mean, the CD market is becoming more like it's
a collectible thing.
It is, and people do love CDs again because it's
nostalgia.
Yeah, it's great, and it's a great package. Our manager Scott Booker, he has virtually everything that we've ever done. I mean, we're a very lucky group that everything that we produce, we produce it ourselves, so we have it. But in my hands, having everything isn't always that good because I don't know where the fuck everything is. We have so much music, so much stuff. But luckily, he's very organized and he's very, he knows what he wanted these CDs and these vinyls to be. So he's been working on this probably the past 6 or 7 years, looking ahead to the 20-year anniversary and collecting. And it's all been, it was mastered once, but it's remastered and all fixed up by Dave Fridman with the greatest new technology. Like these knobs here that you can, and it sounds amazing, even though it would have been a live recording from 2002 that we did,
Sick.
Without any care at all. He's made all this stuff sound amazing, but not change it. I don't ever want people to think we've gone back and we've tightened it up or whatever. That's always our promise. It's like it's of that time. It just. We want to make sure it sounds great, so when you put it in, you're enjoying it as best you can. But yeah, so it's a great collection. It's weird stuff. It's demos. It's stuff from my 4-track recordings. It's stuff from radio stations. It's stuff that I wouldn't have even remembered that we did. But our manager Scott Booker has everything, and he picked the things that he just absolutely loved, and that's our motto. He loves it.
Link in the description below if you want it. In 1986, you spelled the word God with a W.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, are you the first person to ever do that?
Gosh, I don't think so. I probably would have seen it somewhere. Someone probably would have said it in that way, meaning that it's more like hillbilly talk or something. My God, man, So, but I don't think so. I probably saw it somewhere. Yeah.
The W continues with a little help from my friends.
Twins.
Well, that's the title of the great Beatles song that's on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. But these cover albums that we've done that one, the Beatles Sgt. Pepper's record. We've done the Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. We've done, even though it's not commercially released, we did the Stone Roses first album. We did King Crimson album. So we've done, I have a studio at my house, and there's lots of musicians always around. We're always messing around doing stuff. So you end up doing lots of music, One of the things that we did was Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. We were rehearsing this because we were going to do it with John Lennon's son, Sean Lennon, who's a friend of ours. We were going to do it on the David Letterman show for the 50th anniversary of the Beatles landing in New York. So big build up to that. So we did Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So we had this, because we were rehearsing a lot, we had a great recording of it. Miley Cyrus comes to Oklahoma and she plays in Tulsa, and we all have a great time. And the next day she wants to go into the studio and record. This was weeks before she got there. We said we wanted to go in. The day after she played, we didn't want to go in at all because we were all just still hungover and still, barely alive. But we went in anyway. But luckily I was prepared, and I had this version of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds that we had done with Sean, and it was already kind of ready to go. And all she had to do was sing on it, which felt like that would be a day that we could get through. It was do you remember the group, the Hansons?
Yeah, of course.
They're from Tulsa. I kind of know them, and they have a studio. They said, anytime you guys want to come in. So we went into their studio. We actually got tattoos that day, too.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I got one on my lip, inside on my lip.
What's it say?
It's gone now. I think it was like a little kitten or something. Yeah, they don't last that long.
No, they don't. They disintegrate.
Any story diverges a lot here. Yeah. So anyway, we start off with the idea that we're going to record Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And Miley nails it. I mean, and she sounds, in one take, she sounds perfectly like her, perfectly like she knows the song, perfectly like she is going to make it her own. And, we pressed the button. How'd that feel? She's like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, it was great, and I don't even think we did a second or third take. I mean, whatever you hear, wow. Everybody knows this now, but she's a stunning singer, and if she can be free and not have too much self-consciousness about it, she's like, man, character, funny, powerful, all the things. And I just really love the tone of her voice. It's not that unlike my voice when it's high enough or whatever. There's some damage there, but it's it's still beautiful. So we did this version of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which we play that for everybody. Everybody be like, man, this is just amazing. What are we going to do? So before too long, everybody's thinking we should just do the whole record. It'd be easier to do the whole Beatles record and put it out. Miley will be one of the featured artists, and we'll get some other artists. And I think we all quickly thought, yeah, that'll be great. I mean, it's impossible. It takes
clearing their music is
well, yeah. I mean, all these things. It's and in the way that you work, you kind of have to make it before
they even listen.
You can get it cleared.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to say yeah and wait for you to do something. And the way that so a lot of these things would happen kind of by accident. You really have no plan that you're going to do it. It's just 2 or 3 things go well, and before you know it, you're making this. That's a term we use a lot. Before you know it, even though you do know it, it's like, but it's moving along. Yeah, and then it would come down to, okay, we're going to make this record, but at some point, it's like you can't confuse this with the real Beatles record. There's nothing you can do that should be like the Beatles records. Oh, okay. Well, okay. So even this title, with a little help from my friends, it's appropriate for what we're doing because we're getting a lot of our friends to help us or whatever. But it's like you can't even use these titles. So there's a lot of, you got to keep firing back when because there's a lot of no's are being thrown at you, and even when that's all, approved at the end, there is like, especially when you do music by someone like the Beatles or Pink Floyd, they own the universe, and if they don't want it to happen, it won't happen. I've always said, we'd be moving along, and if they didn't want it to happen, like a Black Hawk helicopter would come down, and you would be abducted, and you'd be taken away, and it would never happen. You just know. Well, I don't know what happened to the Pink Floyd record. Well, I don't know. Guess. Because you're not going to get a call from Roger Waters saying no. It's but I think the unspoken part of it is, it's like, as it happens, it's saying yes, and I always sort of felt like with all those albums, like it'll be out there for a couple of years, and then David Gilmour and Roger Waters going to find out and say, what the fuck is this? You owe me $10 million or something, But no, I mean, I think that's just the risk you take, But again, it is a great, great fun adventure. Even if in the end there are some roadblocks or whatever, all that stuff
it's worth it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's amazing. And working with your friends and doing music like dissecting the Beatles music or Pink Floyd. It's like, I mean, musicians being in a studio and stuff, it's just, that's your favorite shit,
By the way, you can listen to all the Flaming Lips discography. Amazon Music. We're going to put a link in the description below. But seriously, the CD box set, special edition of...
Yoshimi Battles Pink Robots.
That's it.
Yes.
Still a mouthful 20 years later,
it
isn't
is.
it?
I know. Yeah.
But you need the full thing, even though people do abbreviate.
Well, I think some people say Yoshimi, and I'll know what we're talking about. But I always try to use the whole title just because it's
out of respect.
No.
Respect.
I just don't assume anybody knows what I'm talking about. So I mean, I'm going to help you. Yeah.
Yoshimi Battles of Pink Robots. Seriously, link in the description below.
Did Lucy in the Sky lead to Dead Petz? Like, how long?
It did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think. All these are ideas that you're pushing ahead to be like, wouldn't this be fun? Wouldn't this be fun? And then you just start to do it, and you see, can it work? And Miley is a great, powerful entity on her own, but she is influenced by her managers and people around her saying, do you want to spend time doing this? Do you really want to do this or whatever? And I understand that, and it is a lot of. It's my agenda. I'm trying to make this stuff work, and I think everybody would trust that if Wayne's going to do this, he'll get it all together. And there's lots of roadblocks. There's lots of things that are getting in the way. There's time. There's money. There's all these things that are getting in the way. But by then, I kind of felt like, Miley was working a lot with Mike Will, even still then, and I mean. And those are great, great days. I mean, I'm sitting in Miley's studio at her house, and the room is completely filled up with pot smoke, and Mike Will's been there for 6 hours, and I'm sitting there with Miley and Mike Will, and we're making music. I mean, it's, for me, I oftentimes would just be like, this is insane, and I'm directing the songs. I mean, I guess for me, if it's not going to be like my thing, you don't want me involved. It's like, get a real producer, get someone who knows what they're doing. But if it's my stuff, I can help you get all the way, everything about it I can help you with, And And Miley is crazy. I mean, she's crazy in the best way. And her and my wife are just like absolute best friends. And so, there would never be a moment where, she's dreading this. They'd be out doing Molly in the swimming pool, and I'd say, hey, we're ready to go in here. Let's go in there and do a vocal. And she'd, what fucking song are we doing? And we'd work it out, and she'd be in the studio for an hour, and then she'd go back to the pool and we'd mix it. I mean, it's insane. Yeah. But I mean, the spirit of that really is on the record. And so, I mean, Miley makes a lot of music. A lot of it's great, but it's done by producers and stuff like that. And this record doesn't sound like that. And I didn't want it to sound like that. I wanted it to sound like she's crazy and she's making this music and I'm helping her. And, for me, I think that's the great reward in the end is, oh man, we really got it, and I loved her title, Miley Cyrus and the Dead Petz, because I mean, where a lot of the songs are based on when her dog died, and people can dismiss that, but if you have a pet
that matters
that's been with you for years and years, and you sleep with them, and they travel with you, and they're just with you all the time, when they die, it's devastating, and we had dogs that had died around the same time and all that, and this idea that it's Miley Cyrus and the Dead Petz. I mean, this is just a great name of a group. You know what I mean? That would be a punk rock joke group, But it's like, no, this really is Miley Cyrus, but she's with the Flaming Lips. It's like, what is going on here? So it's amazing,
By the way, you can listen to that body of work too on Amazon Music, but seriously, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots special edition album, link in the description below if you want to buy it right in time for the holiday. Final thoughts?
Yeah, quickly. People, whenever they see you live, they say it's like a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, we have a series of songs that are emotional, and if we work hard on those songs to make them penetrate. I mean, I know like at every show that we do, I mean, I don't always know them personally, but there's people in the crowd that especially when we do the song Do You Realize, they're going to hold on to each other. And they're going to try to get through it because it's bringing up something painful, We have a series of songs that we know that's happening throughout the crowd. And, if you're there just on some acid to have a good time, that's great. But that emotional thing that's happening with the music and the energy and all that, it gets in you. And you can see that effect on people. And so I think that thing of that kind of love and that kind of caring about each other, I mean, because we want that music to work. If you're going through some pain like that, and you're brave enough to go out to a concert and think maybe this is going to help us, because a lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times you go out and it's just a disaster or whatever, and you go out to a concert to hear this thing, and it's going to bring up the worst things that you can think. I mean, because that is the dilemma with grieving and death. You want to remember them. You want them to be part of your life, but it's horrible and it's painful, and you want it to be over with, But at the same time, you don't want it to be over with. You want them to be with you forever. And this way of having a song that says, bring them in, you can remember them, but we're going to love you and take care of you this whole time, that's a big thing. And to have songs that can do that to people. And I'm up there having the time of my life. I love singing. I love being up there with the Flaming Lips and us putting on this crazy show. But knowing that that's happening lets us do fucking anything we can get away with, I mean,
does it add any pressure though?
No. I mean, because those people, it's just so forgiving. And we know it's going to work. We know if I screw up the song 10 times, we just do it over and say, I'll do it better. Here we go. Let's do it. No. To me, that's the greatest thing ever, is to know that you're really singing a song, and it's that song is their life now. That song is that person. That song is their family or whatever. That's just the best thing ever. So that lets us do the confetti and lasers and all this bullshit that is more entertaining, but without piercing people's hearts. I think all that would just be like, what is all this shit? But when you're doing that, adding this great celebration, this great joy, this great optimism to it, it's wonderful. Yeah. So life-changing, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like, I think most of the people that are saying that, their lives are already changed. And hearing this music just affirms that, yeah, you're right. This is cool. It's great to be encouraging. It's great to be optimistic. It's great to believe in each other. I mean, news and even other podcasts, not this one, but a lot of other podcasts are so, they want to scare people. They're so negative. And I think to be in a room where everything is possible, all the good stuff can be true instead of, no matter what you say, sometimes these days it's like, it could be the best thing ever. And there's always 20 people that know better. But this, you can't do that because of, there's always going to be a lot of negative coming back. And I think at a Flaming Lips show, it's, the music is in charge. I'm not in charge. The production people aren't in charge. The music is in charge. And if we do these songs, it's going to work. And those people want it to work. It's a great moment, And plus, we got this shit down. It's going to work, No one's going to stop us,
If you want to see an inside look at the show, Space Bubble is a recently released concert documentary.
Yes.
We're going to put a link in the description below. Check it out.
Yeah. I mean, it's, when all the concerts were shut down, of course, we all remember that in time. In time, that's going to be like something,
I know.
What was it like? And for us, it was just a couple of years ago.
It's crazy.
I do this thing where I sing inside of a space bubble.
Huh.
I mean, not everybody knows that, but I'm inside of a bubble. Not for every song, but I don't know why I started to do it. Just crazy.
This went so viral, by the way.
Yeah.
It was everywhere on the fucking internet.
And it was perfect for the for the pandemic. But when the pandemic started, we didn't really know what was going to happen. When it first started, we had this show that we're playing tonight. It was scheduled for June of 2020. So, we thought by June, so that the pandemic officially started in March. We thought, well, by June, this will all be over. That's going to be fine. Then we rescheduled that. And of course, that reschedule didn't work. So, after about 6 or 7 months of the lockdown, I mean, I was just thinking, well, this could go on for the next 5 years. I didn't. No one really knows. I mean, Trump's president. I mean, my God, and it would be a tall order for anybody in charge, But it was such a bizarre thing, and so one of the big venues in Oklahoma City where we live, they said, well, you guys could come in here and start to rehearse and put on, make up a show if you want, because there's
nothing going on.
No one's playing. And we have this big venue. So we went down there, spent, almost a whole year in their venue, setting up, figuring out how this stuff would work. And we put on these concerts that's documented in this, the Space Bubble film is what it's called, just so people know it's about this concert. Shows how we put it all together and made sure everybody was, wasn't infecting each other, how they would line up outside, how we made it all work. And it's, man, looking at it now, I sweat just thinking about it. But at the time, it was a great creative challenge, and just and we were glad we got to do it. To play music and figure out a way. Yeah,
and a piece of larger history, and a really interesting look at a very unique time and a time capsule that I think will only grow more important as time goes on.
Yeah, and how many stories at the time would go the other way, where we're trying to do this thing and it just causes more spread, you know what I mean? So, I mean, even the mayor of Oklahoma City is involved with this. I mean, we've known him for a long time, and he's at the very first one of these, saying, "Look, if anybody can do it, the Flaming Lips can do it." So, it ends up being a great story. But you can see a lot of things could have gone badly.
Space Bubble film, link in the description below. And please, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots special edition. It is available now. So grab it, link in the description below.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
And the Flaming Lips, their entire discography available for you right now on Amazon Music. You good?
Very last question is, where's the original painting for the album cover?
Our manager Scott has it. I mean, it's in a frame at his house, and whenever I need to use it, he packs it up. And but at the time, it's just another painting that I did. I mean, now it's going to be our most famous painting ever. And I'm glad that it's in the style that I did. I did a little sketch of it when we were working up there with Dave Fred, and I said, maybe the album cover could be this. And I was sitting like we are here, and I did a little sketch. I showed it to him. He's like, yeah, that'll work. And I got home after that, and all these things have deadlines, and I needed it really within a couple of days. So I did this quick painting, and I was happy enough with it or whatever, and it just ends up being like that's exactly what we needed, and just very lucky. But as that went, I ended up doing like 20 paintings. So I had no idea what I was going to paint, but the more success it had, the more paintings we needed. So yeah, little by little, I ended up doing bunches and bunches of them, but all based on the idea and style and the coloring of that very first one. That's the cover of Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robot. So he has it. Yeah, it's like not very big. It's like this, but yeah, it's
iconic.
When people see it now, you're so used to seeing it. It's like, wow, that's really it. And yeah, me too. I'm like, wow, there it is.
It's like seeing the Mona Lisa in person. You're like, it's the real thing.
It is. I mean, and it's kind of. It's funny because it's not impressive, and it is impressive, like the Mona Lisa. I mean, the Mona Lisa is in a museum full of 20,000 amazing paintings, and yet you stand there and look at it like. But it's just because it's popular, and it's because you've seen it a lot. It's part of your life, and that's what makes it, iconic or whatever. It's not. I'm not a great painter. I'm not. It's whatever. It's like it's just become this thing that when you see the real thing, it's.
Does that fulfill you?
Yeah. I mean, I think any time that you do something that's like, man, that's really hitting. That's really, and that people love it for the reasons that we want them to love it. I mean, it would be different if people loved it for some horrible, sarcastic, negative reason or whatever. But to have a song like "Do You Realize" be, I'm 62. I could die tonight at the show. That would probably be on my tombstone. Something of that.
That song's going to outlive everybody in this room times 10.
Yeah, and. That's if for a songwriter, for someone that gets to go up there and perform. I mean, that's as good as ever going to be, And so so wonderful. You guys are great.
No, you're amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you both seemed like, oh, here we go, we got to do this again, and now you're, it's amazing. Yeah,
I genuinely appreciate you taking the time and energy today. You are genuinely a legend, and you didn't need to do any of this. So thank you. It really means a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I did it. Yeah, I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know the desk was going to be so impressive, but yeah, I knew the podcast would be. Yeah.
I got big desk energy, bro. Big desk energy. Links in the description below.
Yeah.
Please listen to the Flaming Lips discography. Yes, but seriously, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots special edition album out now. Wayne.
Yeah.
Flaming Lips. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Yay. All right.